inching its way towards us will give us clouds, showers, and thunderstorms today, tonight, and Tuesday. About a 40-50% during the day, 30% at night. And through Tuesday, there could be some isolated severe thunderstorms. You'll be in the mid to upper 80s today and tomorrow, and probably close to 70 overnight. More showers and thunderstorms expected Wednesday. Jonesboro, that's your KLEK 102.5 FM weather.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's won another 6-year term in office in an election boycotted by the opposition. The public inquiry into the Grenfell Tower disasters opened in London with statements from relatives of victims. 10 deaths due to the Nipah virus, a disease transmitted by fruit bats and pigs, have occurred in South India, and an immunisation programme is being started by health workers in Democratic Republic of Congo to try and stop the spread of Ebola.
It's 9:01.
Community Conversations is brought to you by Arkansas Early Learning, offering no-cost childcare in Jonesboro and Northeast Arkansas. Applications at arearlylearning.org.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM, good morning to you on your Monday. It's May 21st, 2018. This is Community Conversations. Kato Wonder is in the studio with you. I'm still filling in for Quabila, and we are definitely keeping Quabila lifted up in prayer. Quabila is doing a little bit better for everyone who has asked, and we definitely thank each and every one of you for all of the prayers, comments, hospital visits, calls, messages, and I'm just saying on behalf of Quabila and all of us at KLEK, we're definitely thankful for them. But we're going to go ahead and get into today's program. Today we are joined by Mrs. Amanda Dunavant. She is a Republican candidate for Craighead County Justice of the Peace District 5. Now, let me go ahead and give the disclaimer. KLEK and the Voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council does not endorse nor support any candidate for office, nor was any compensation provided for this interview. This interview is provided for educational purposes only. And also, in the interest of full disclosure, Amanda has served before here as a KLEK volunteer, although she is not active as a volunteer at this time. So with all that out of the way, Amanda, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. At least the rain stopped. That's all I could say is thank the Lord for that.
Absolutely. And of course, Quabila is watching, so hey, Q.
Hey, Q. Good morning. I love you.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Before we get into your JP race, you first burst on the scene a couple years ago when you ran for mayor of Jonesboro. What lessons did you learn from your run as mayor that you took with you to this current race?
The lessons I've learned, well, first and foremost, that was the first thing that I have never came out on top of. Now, I kind of knew that ahead of time, but I stayed in the race. It taught me a lot of strength. It taught me a lot of character, how to be humble, you know, when you're all the time award-winning, top of the chain, you know, victor, I guess you could say, even though that you know that you're going to lose at the bottom of your heart, it still took a little bit on my pride and as a person. But from there, I grew. I met a lot of different people. You know, like Gansey was saying, you know, I volunteer here. Well, did up until I started running for this office. And, you know, it put me in touch with our nonprofits, and I've helped a little bit with those as well. Not to name some, but I'm not participating as of right now due to this race. But just meeting wonderful people.
And absolutely. So what made you decide to run for Justice of the Peace?
Well, similar to when I ran for mayor, for those who don't know, I'm a very talkative person. I'd never meet a stranger, and just, you know, started talking to people in the grocery stores and events. You know, somebody will see me and at like city council or quorum court, see that I'm very active in our community. I've had people approach me and say, hey, you need to run for JP. It'd be an honor for you, you know, and it's an honor to have people tell me that. And a lot of people were really upset that they're not seeing a lot of their political people involved in our community as much as they would like to see. And that's one of the things that people loved about me. And it's an honor to have their support, and it'd be an honor to have y'all's support as well.
All right, so let's back up just a minute. For those of you that are listening or watching on our Facebook Live feed, some people may not actually know what a JP, or which stands for Justice of the Peace, is, or even what the Quorum Court is. So kind of explain to the listeners and viewers out there what a JP is.
A JP is basically a legislative branch of the county government. It's similar, if you want to look at, if you know what a city council is, what the city council does for the city. It's basically the county's version of it. We write laws. I marry people. And you also help set the budget for the next year.
Alrighty. And let me just add to that, Amanda mentioned that the JP is kind of like the equivalent of a city councilman, and we got another race coming up, the county judge race. The county judge is kind of like the mayor of the county. So as you can kind of see, it's kind of like city government, but it's actually more focused on the county level. So Amanda, what are some of the issues that are important to you? You mentioned that you've talked to constituents while out and about. What are some of the things that they told you that they're concerned about? What are some of the issues that you want to tackle if you get elected?
A lot of it has been our budgeting process and local drainage, flooding, knowing that there's issues that hasn't been taken care of. Integrity, I'm full transparent. That's another issue. They would like to see more transparency within our local governments. I'd be more than welcome. Any question, anything needs to be transparent in my opinion.
Okay, and let me ask you about this issue. One issue that has kind of come up from time to time is the issue of the Eastern District, the Lake City Courthouse. There's been concerns about how that's going to operate, or if it's even going to, remain open. So what are your thoughts on that?
See, I actually spoke to a few people while I was in Lake City when they had the debate for Mr. Terry Couch and Paul McNally. Those people, I actually have family that live there. They are very, very, they use this facility quite often. This facility is very, very important to them as a community as a whole. And also there's many people who drive from Jonesboro to Lake City in order to use the services of the courthouse as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say that a lot of people from Jonesboro will go to the Lake City branch in order to avoid the long lines that you may experience in the Craighead County Courthouse. So it's definitely an issue to look out for. Let's go back to drainage. You mentioned that drainage is an important issue, and it's something that the county judge candidates have talked about as well. In fact, if you want to see the impact of drainage, all you had to do was just look at the rain last night. Last night I was DJing at the A-State Pavilion, and I'm upstairs looking, and the deck on the back of the pavilion started flooding, and the water got like a foot to the back door. So flooding is definitely an issue. So what do you hope to bring to the table if you're elected concerning the debate on flooding?
On flooding? Well, without proper drainage, we are not going to have a really awesome roadbed. I mean, drainage, it can be caused from, build up in their drainage ditches, collapse of culverts. The road ain't actually, somebody messed up somewhere. It's not properly pitched right. I mean, we need to take care of that, because we can spend all kinds of money on roads, but it's not going to last very long as soon as flood waters hit. And it starts local, believe it or not, and then it carries up speed once it hits, these areas where the culverts are messed up, or we got humongous, like down in Grubbs. I've actually went and surveyed, if you look on my Facebook page, back March when we had this rain that just fell for days, it seemed like, and drive down there, it looked like a lake, and there was actually a picture of county road sign. But anyways, I've actually talked to people of Grubbs where there is an actual known ball of debris, lumber, building material, etc. that's been there for years. Now, that's just one instance. If you just drive around our city and look, you see collapsed culverts, and culverts is filled up, and the water can't get to point A. Well, think about it this way. A plus B equals C. Well, A is the starting of the flooding. C is where the water gets carried off. But if you don't have B, you can't get to C. That's just all it is to it. And without proper drainage and stuff like that, we're going to be spending a lot more money in road repair and maintenance without, all we're doing is just repairing the road when we need to be repairing the problem. We need to be proactive versus reactive.
And another issue that has come up is like making sure that our first responders in these outlying cities and towns and in the county are taken care of. That these small areas don't have the resources that the big city of Jonesboro has. So if you are elected, what will you do to ensure that these first responders have what they need?
Well, if y'all may not know very much about me, but I have been, as a first responder, a lot of my family is first responders. It really upsetted me to see the quorum fussing over $13,000 over a life-saving device. I mean, without radios, without the proper supplies that these people need, that could cost somebody their life. That could cost them their life. It could cost them, everything. And we shouldn't come down. If we had the money in the bank, we need to spend that because it's a life-saving device. And if it saves one life, just one life, does not matter if that person's out of town, whoever it is. If it saves one life, that $13,000 was worth it, in my opinion.
And let's see, we have a Facebook shout out to Helen Scott. Shout out to you, Helen.
Hi, Miss Helen.
Appreciate you for checking in to the live feed. And of course, if y'all have any questions for Amanda, you can leave them on our Facebook live feed. She's waving at the camera, y'all. You can also give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. Oh, well, like I said, you can leave your questions and comments on our live feed. And I think I already read Kwabila's comment saying good morning. I think you did say good morning back to her. So, all right. Even though this is a county race, obviously Jonesboro is within the county. So if you are elected to be a justice of the peace, how will you work with city officials to make sure that there is harmony amongst the city and the county and all of the entities and stakeholders that are involved?
First and foremost, I try to attend every city council. My opinion on that is, how can you work without talking to one another or hearing the public or talking to the city council? Sit there and see or watch it, the rulings. You don't know what's going on unless you interact. So what I'm going to bring to the table is I will be going to every city council meeting. I will also like to sit down if I'd like to do it once a month or once a quarter with all the other city council members and quorum court members. Just sit down, drink coffee, and discuss what we need to do. I would like to work hand in hand with them, and whatever I can do, I'll be glad to do to help.
And that's what it's all about. Okay, Helen has a couple of comments. She says, "Hey," and she says, "Home security discounts."
Home security discounts.
I'm guessing that's an inside joke between you two.
Yes.
All right, so let's get back to this question. Early at the beginning of the show, you mentioned your experience with nonprofits, including with ours, and so obviously you've gotten to see a lot of the work that nonprofits in the area do for the community. So, if you are elected, what do you think you could do to encourage the quorum court to support nonprofits? I believe there was an issue that came up before the court. I believe the county donates money to some nonprofits. We are not one of them, just for full disclosure. But what do you think about the issue of the county helping nonprofits? Because there's been some talk about that.
Yes, I've heard the talk, and there's, the number is about equal. I would have to check with the people in my district first and foremost, but in my opinion, the way I feel about it is our nonprofits do a lot for us. A lot. People don't realize this, I'm trying to think. One of the ones, Out of the Dark was one of them that receives money. The DAV, the Disabled Veterans, that helps people transportation back and forth to Little Rock and Memphis to their VA appointments. In my opinion, that we should be helping these people. Now, what I do bring into the table is, after this election, if I'm elected or not, I'll go back doing what I'm doing. I'll continue helping our nonprofits and as a volunteer. And if we have money in the bank, the bills are paid, money's going to the savings account. Yes.
And of course, I've actually pulled up some information from article that was in the Jonesboro Sun with you and your opponent, and you actually said, I need to find out how the people of District 5 feel about it, and if the bills are paid and we have money in the bank account. And then she says she also cautions she may not be able to vote on the issue due to her involvement in several nonprofits. So kind of touched on
yes. Now
what you said.
We would have to look at the law. We may have to vote whether or not I can vote on it, or I may have to. It's either be able to vote or not help the nonprofits.
Well, I would think, but again, check with someone for sound legal advice, that if it was something that you were involved with, then you would just abstain.
Right, and that's actually what I told David Talley. If I could not, if my vote needed and we couldn't rule on it, then I would just abstain. And that's just how I feel about it. I work with these people, and and it can be beneficial. So, in my opinion, I wouldn't have been able to unless I got a ruling on it.
All right, and getting back to our Facebook Live feed, Helen says, lie detector tests during council meetings. Well, Helen, I'm not sure about the legalities of that, but I'm sure if that were possible, I'm sure that those council meetings or any kind of government, anything in life, period, would be interesting. You want to comment on that? By the way, we are speaking with Mrs. Amanda Dunavant, Republican candidate for Craighead County Justice of the Peace District 5. I didn't mention this, but if you want to vote in this race, you have to select the Republican ballot. Now,
yes.
Even if you are not a registered Republican, you can still do it, and you're still free to vote for any candidate, Democrat, Republican, Independent, in the general election. But if you want to vote in this race or the Craighead County judge race,
Circuit Court,
all of those races have Republicans only running. There were no Democrats or Independents that chose to file on those races. So if these are races that you care about, that you want to support a candidate, again, we're not going to say which one you should support, but request the Republican ballot. And again, in the general, if you want to turn around and vote for a Democrat or an Independent or other third party candidate, then you can in the general election. All right, so Amanda, you mentioned, I'm looking at this article again, you mentioned that you felt your strongest suit was your business experience. So
yes.
Let's talk about how you feel your business experience could help you if you are elected.
Well, let's jump off in here. I grew up as a business kid. I've got over 20 years actively involved in business. And before I retired about a year ago, I was the assistant district manager for Razor Rock and Razorback. And how that helps is the planning process, the budgeting process, sales, marketing, advertising. My family, like I said, I'm a business kid, but not just one business. My grandpa had 13 brothers and sisters, and all their kids have businesses as well. So I grew up in business, and it's just one of those things. The budgeting process. Why wait to the last moment? This needs to be talked about at least in September. It needs to be actively looked at all the time, not just thrown around and forget it, or we'll fix it on the back end. We need to figure out how to fix this problem. And,
it's something that you definitely feel strongly and passionate about.
I'm very strong and passionate about. I love business. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't have been in it for almost 30 years now.
Got another Facebook shout out. Shout out to Chelsea Chapman, and Helen has a question. What are the good question. The mental health facility. That's obviously a very heated issue. Let me just kind of give a quick background because we got about 3.5-4 minutes. Basically, Sheriff Boyd has tried to build a mental health facility and homeless shelter. There was a building on the north side of town, an old nursing home that was donated. A group of pastors were going to form a nonprofit to manage it. The idea met resistance from people in the area. So Sheriff Boyd has been looking all over town to try to find a place for this facility, but has kind of ran into some of the same issues with resistance from people in the area. And there's some government funding that is available to help build it, but if Sheriff Boyd can't get anything together within a certain time frame, then the money is going to be lost. So, Amanda, what are your thoughts on the crisis unit, the homeless shelter?
Now, that's another big issue of mine. I believe we need it. I mean, we've talked about this before. I was in favor for it before. The neighbors didn't care so much about it, but we need to be actively looking for a facility, if not build one. Now, that's going to cost money. And where's the money going to come from? It's going to come from the taxpayers, whether it be a grant or local tax. You know, I'll tell you another thing. I won't be voting for a tax or another fee. I believe the people are already taxed as it is. But we need to figure out what we're going to do, because if not, we're going to lose this $1.6 million. And we desperately need this crisis center and the homeless shelter. We might be able to talk to see what we can do about building something on the grounds itself. But when you talk about building or renting or making a facility where it needs to be, it costs money. And we need it. That comes back to the budgeting process. But whatever I can do to help support it, if the people in my district feels the need, I will vote for it, and whatever needs to be done.
Alrighty. Well, Amanda, we got 2 minutes, 15 seconds, so this is your final pitch. Just tell the voters and the listeners and the viewers about yourself and why you feel that you are the best qualified candidate for Craighead County Justice of the Peace District 5.
My name is Amanda Dunavant. I'm 30 years old. I've been actively involved in our community since I was a teenager. I believe in your voices, whether you be a felon, not be able to vote for me, all the way up to the rich businessman. If you need anything, all you got to do is holler. I have Facebook. You can look me up, Amanda Dunavant for JP5. I have an email address. My name is Amanda Dunavant, and that's AmandaDunavant at Outlook. Or you can call me. My phone number is 870-761-1749. And any questions, concerns, hit me up. That's my personal cell phone number. And it'd be an honor to have your vote. All right. May 22nd, tomorrow.
That's right. Tomorrow is Election Day. Today is the last day of early voting, and that's at the Craighead County Election Annex. And, of course, voting will be tomorrow at polling places all throughout the city of Jonesboro. Once again, if you want to vote in this race or the Craighead County judge race or the Craighead County circuit clerk race, then request the Republican ballot, because there are no other candidates running for those positions, Democrat or Republican. You had some quick?
Yes. Please vote. Please get out and vote. Our local government is just as important as the presidential. Our numbers have only been 300 or 400 maybe a day. And no vote, no voice, and every voice matters.
Hey, you got that from a guy, BT Groove. But seriously, though, your vote does count. So, you know, we're not going to tell you who to vote for. We don't endorse nor support any candidate for office, but we do encourage you to exercise your right to vote.
Please do.
Don't go anywhere. We're gonna play some music for the rest of this hour, but we're gonna come back at the top of the 10 o'clock hour with Jared Henderson, Democratic candidate for Arkansas governor. So you definitely want to check this one out, because again, the governor's race is a race that affects the community as well. Back at the 10 o'clock hour. Don't go anywhere. This is KLEK on 2.5 FM.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. A program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
What one thing can you do to make your marriage better?